yes, because we're in organized crime, it's committing crime. But we commit crime once or twice a week, and that's just conversations. We're not out sticking people up or snatching purses or standing on the corner selling drugs. We make moves. You're supposed to build your network the right way. That's how that works. Instead of trying to go into that life and earn off of other people, you build your own network, and that's what makes a crew work. If everybody in the crew has their own thing going, and then you just come together, crew is tight, dynamite.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Money, Loyalty, Legacy. My name is Matt.
And your boy, the champ.
And today we have a very special guest. His name is Anthony Hootie Russo. He is a former associate of the Gambino crime family. He is an author, a social media star, and arguably the most articulate, well-spoken former guy from that life there is on YouTube right now.
Wow. That was some introduction. Now I know why you guys came highly recommended.
You got to set the platform.
No, where's the champ from? You used to box?
I did MMA and boxing. We both
nice.
do.
He talked about the MMA. I heard that part. Yeah. I didn't know you boxed, but you boxed too?
Yeah,
good.
I had one. I boxed Dana White's producer a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah?
In Denver, yeah. So it was cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
all right. So I don't know if I call you champ or not.
No. In all due respect, you just say Ross, brother. Okay?
You got
You're the man of the hour.
No, listen, we all are. I'm happy to see you guys. Hopefully you'll be happy to see me at the end of this interview.
No, absolutely.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
No.
So when we were landing, we saw the whole skyline of New York, right?
Yeah, you get that from LaGuardia.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's where you were lining it into.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And my first question is, what was it like in your heyday when you're in that life and you're making bank and you have this beautiful city where you can do anything you want? And I'm just looking at the lights and I'm just like, these guys ran this. Like, what was that like to be paid and just wander around this beautiful metropolis and do whatever you want?
You know, when the book comes out, it's going to be called the Prince of Ozone Park. So we were the princes of the city. We were. But we didn't get involved in any of that. Like, my crew stood on the street stuff. We didn't get involved in construction. The guy that got me my no-show construction job in the union was an Irish guy that I grew up with. We stood away from all of that because it's like we're going to go and punch a clock and still get 20 years. We'll stay on the street and we'll take everything on the street while these guys are fighting for contracts under the FBI, under the labor laws. And if anything comes to the street, we sit down, we can't lose because we're on the streets. It belongs to us. You know, these guys wanted that was the one thing about my crew that kept my crew on the street was we stood with the street stuff. And we loved our neighborhood. Ozone Park, I would have lived and died for that place. It ain't the same anymore. You know, it's Howard Beach now. I had a place in Howard Beach. I had a place also in Manhattan in the early days before 9/11. I was the Manhattan guy. They hated it. Even though we never waited online for clubs, restaurants. You know, we were frequent members of the Hustle Club on the West Side. But I'd come during the day, go to the boutique shopping. You know, I remember taking the trains as a kid because I grew up, you know, right by the A train between East New York and Ozone Park on 101st Avenue. I loved all of that. And I still love it. You know, if I could afford to live in the city today and live that life, it's beautiful. So anytime I still come over the bridge or I come over the Long Island Expressway, I say the same thing. Like, this was great. When you didn't have to worry about how much something cost, you walk right in, Il Molino, Campagnola's, all these famous restaurants that the rap is talking about. We walked right in, standing tables, standing reservations, you know, beautiful suits on, diamond up. Like, you know, it was great. And, you know, I'm thinking about it now. We were 22 years old. We were kids, you know, but like I was orphaned at 14. I was on the street since I'm 5. So being a kid just never came to me. You know, we were always adults, always taking care of younger guys in my crew. They were born on third base. You know, I wasn't. I started from behind. And I think that's kind of gets into another question that you had said to me, that reason why I like to do this interview. But like, I grew up with guys that were older than me, you know, 20 years, 22 years, 18 years older than me. So when I finally got with a crew, they were all at the same age as me. It felt good. Like I never had that before. You know, it was always guys that were older than me, teaching me, mentoring me. And, you know, I learned a lot. But And then I had nobody my own age. So now I'm with guys that make just as much money, maybe more than I do, you know, wearing Rolexes every day of the week, you know, got 7 different watches, never wearing the same pair of shoes twice, and we're just running through everywhere. Like, there was no Friday night. There was no Saturday night. Every night was Friday night. We did whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted. Didn't have to call ahead. Didn't have to make reservations. It was just insane.
Yeah. It's like being in an adult version of Disneyland where you can just ride all the rides, skip the lines, just do anything you want. Like, just it's your own playground.
Yeah.
You know what I
like,
mean?
for them, it was normal.
Yeah.
Me, I made money before I was with them, but I knew what it was like to be broke.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be what my father was, everybody I seen growing up struggling. I'm like, it's so much out here to grab. They just didn't want to go grab it. I did. You know, like, I remember, now just think back in the day how big, like, Labor Day was, Memorial Day. Remember those? Like, those were big days. You couldn't travel on them. I remember we were in Atlantic City. It was like Friday night before Labor Day weekend, before Memorial Day weekend. And we hit big. We ordered a limousine, left the car there. We left it because we all drove down together. We had nothing to do, so we drove to Atlantic City, you know, Memorial Day weekend. We left the car there. They limoed us straight to JFK, no clothes. Ordered 5 first-class tickets. This was Memorial Day weekend. Didn't care how much it was, and then flew to Vegas. We were 23 years old. We got there. We took somebody with us. They went to the store, bought us all brand new socks, underwears, and sweatsuits. We were just wearing, and we partied like rocks. Like, who does that? Like, at 23 years old, can jump on a plane. The tickets were like $2,500. You know how it is. It's Memorial Day weekend. Lucky we even got there. It was American Airlines, and it was $2,500 a ticket. I'll never forget it. We paid cash right there at the counter, and got on American Airlines first class, and we just jetted down to Florida. An ounce of Coke. The kid had an ounce of Coke in his pocket. They sniffed a whole ounce for 5 hours. 4 guys.
Holy shit.
No, listen to me. There was a guy from the Bronx and a guy from Brooklyn. But the guy from the Bronx, they were jockeying for the bathroom in first class with the guys I was with. They got so fed up, they put the trays down in front of them, and they were blowing lines right off the tray right in first class. It was just insane. It was insane. We get down there. They get us all comp suites at Mandalay Bay. Somebody just gave them to us. We hired a driver, the guy that picked us up for the airport, where you're not going nowhere because they sniffed all 28 grams on the plane. Find us coke and just be on the call in front of the hotel all day long, all night long for us. And then we just party. Like, that's what we did. And that was on the regular. But that was like Memorial Day weekend. People like, can't afford to go. I don't know if I could go to the beach this weekend. You know, we just went and did it. And it's not bragging. It's just, that's the way we lived.
Yeah.
You know, I lived like that because I never lived like that before. And I've always wanted to. And it was like that.
Most guys will go their whole lives not knowing what that's like.
Right.
You know, to be honest, like, most people have no idea what it's like to live like that.
Just walk into the airport with no suitcase, no nothing, get a first-class ticket 5 hours away, and just go in and buy velour sweatsuits, socks and underwear, and you got there. We left everything there. We got back on the plane with nothing because they didn't want any of their wives to know where they were. Like, it was, listen, I went out for milk once. Didn't come home for 3 days. I flew to Vegas. No lie. No lie. There was cereal and no milk. I literally went out to get a gallon of milk. I ran into somebody, and they said, let's go. I came home 3 days later.
Oh, no shit.
It was not, but that's just the way it was. It's just, you never had to be anywhere. And everybody thinks when you're in that life, like, yeah, if we got nothing to do, we're at the social club every day. And when we got things to do, it's once or twice a week. We're not committing, yes, because we're in organized crime, it's committing crime. But we commit crime once or twice a week, and that's just conversations. We're not out sticking people up or snatching purses or standing on the corner selling drugs. We make moves. You know, you're supposed to build your network the right way. That's how that works. Instead of trying to go into that life and earn off of other people, you build your own network, and that's what makes a crew work. If everybody in the crew has their own thing going, and then you just come together, crew is tight, dynamite.
And I feel you touched on this earlier. You're first generation here, correct?
Yes,
right.
Families, and it's just 100% Sicilian, mother and father.
And then hanging out with the older guys, it seems like you caught on to that, and then you were able to bring that energy and know what to do and how to operate. So it was easier that way for you then?
Yeah, well, you got to remember, nobody understands. You know, when people say, and you hear it all the time on the internet, they're not real Italians, you don't speak Italian. In the street, we don't consider people from Italy real Italians. We know they don't make chicken parmesan in Italy. You can get every dish in Italy now in New York. You don't have to go to Italy for nothing anymore, except to see the Coliseum. But the people that come here, and we make fun of them, the Jersey Shore, the Tommy DeVito. Shout out Tommy DeVito. He's got New York football on smash right now, Tommy Cutlets. But those people make Italians. When I went into the life, they were all Napolitan. They hate each other, the Napolitans and the Sicilians. And if you're from the other side, you get looked at as second-class citizens. And if you go to federal prison or you go down on the West Coast, the Mexicans run like that. The Mexican-Americans look down on the Mexicans that live in Mexico. 18th Street, all those guys. I was locked up with a lot of them. And I said, wow, it's the same thing. If you're Italian and you're from the other side and you're not a civilian, you're not a citizen, or you weren't born here, we don't recognize you. We don't give a what's going on in Italy. The Italians here that is doing fist pumps, that's what made Italians big in this country. Everybody's like, oh, you're not. If it wasn't for those guys, Italian pizza wouldn't be as big as it is. And I'm the first to say. Now, I grew up in a house where they only spoke Sicilian. My mother could only speak Sicilian. She couldn't speak Napolitan. My father spoke Napolitan, Sicilian. But my father didn't like the Napolitans, like more than other races. Like, people don't understand how much the Sicilians and Napolitans do not get along. Yeah. So in my crew, I was the only Sicilian. They broke they come to my house, very respectful. They would break balls about being Sicilian, but then when they come to my house, my father used to live downstairs from me. He had an apartment. They would go right downstairs, have him fry up chicken. My father was always cooking, fixing something, always in the garden. So they respected that. But when we were alone, or we were playing a drinking game, or we were in a club, the balls that got broken about me being Sicilian. Oh, it's because he's Sicilian. Oh, we play Italian cards. I'd want to play with the Sicilian guy because he's a Sicilian. Oh, that's why. He's cheap like this. Like everything, they would go off on Sicilians, like off. Yeah. And in this life, if you're from there, you're a second-class citizen. They don't even recognize you. It's like, oh, we respect our ancestors. We love our nonnas and our nonnos. We love all of that. But what made Italians big is the 5th, 6th generation Italians here that really, cause this, that. Italians don't talk like that. Italians got shadows. We don't believe in facial hair. Long hair past their neck. Tight pants. Sports. We don't believe anything they do. The way they dress, the way they cook. We don't believe in any of it. It's this country. Yeah. So when I hear people say, well, you're not real Italians. No, we are the ones that made Italians memorable in this country. Yeah. We know the ancestors came over 100 years ago and helped build it, but that's forgotten about. It's the Jersey. They were quiet. They went home after work. You didn't hear it from them. It's the kids that were out in the clubs pumping freestyle. Like, freestyle was a Puerto Rican. Like, the Boricuas listened to freestyle. The Italians took that over. The Italian Americans made that into like almost like a hip-hop. Dancing, break dancing, up rocking. They took that. So, like, I give a lot of respect to these kids that are 10, 12 generations, even though I'm like, take it easy. You're not from the other side. You're Italian Americans. But they made Italians big in this country. So when I hear people say, oh, they don't even make chicken color Parmesan, who gives a shit what they make over there? Right. You know what I mean? We don't care what they do over there. Their wing tips and their tight pants. They don't give a shit what they do. They look down on us. We look down on them. Now, people on the outside might not think that, but guys in the life look down on them over there.
It's interesting you bring that up because we just interviewed your buddy, Gene Borello. I'd say our buddy, Gene Borello, for a second time. What up, Gene?
And, that's my guy.
And we actually brought up what you were talking about the cultural dynamic of the Jersey Shore, as a matter of fact, and everything that you just described. Right. I brought that up with Gene, and he was just like, that. Like, we hated that shit.
We did. But it's what made Italian Americans big. Not the guys on the other side.
Yeah.
If you got to look at it the right way. We did. We'd go into a club, they'd be there. We were starting to fight with them. And we knew the Jews couldn't fight. They were so big. We going in, we were fighting them. We didn't care. We were in suits. We were dragging them on the floor. 100%. Yeah. We didn't like any of them. But let's call it what it is. It's as big as it is, this Italian culture, because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not because of the quiet guys from the other side. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're not the reasons why Italian is so big in this country. You know what I mean? Like, somebody said, oh, that idiot, Matt Rife, whatever, he's a terrible comedian. He does good stage work, but his bits are terrible. And somebody said something about being black. It was like, I think everybody thought about being black in their life. No, everybody thinks about being Italian in their life.
Yeah.
You know, nothing. I hate when people, no, I never thought about being anything else but a Sicilian American. And I wear my American stripes strong. You know what I mean? Like, Sicilian American. I never thought I could be anything else in this world but that. That's why they used to break my balls, because I never shied away from it when they would break my balls about being Sicilian and they were Napolitan.
Right.
that.
Say it with your chest, brother.
Yeah.
We got to rewind a little bit about the partying real quick. Take people into you going to Vegas, right? Like, describe the room, describe the women, describe the clubs. What are you wearing? What are you dressed in? Like,
well, we don't do champagne, and we don't drink wine out of stem glasses. If you drink wine, it's with dinner, and it's in a wine glass. If you ever see the old timers that they drink wine in, you usually see scotch in it. That's a wine glass for a man. We didn't walk around. And don't think about champagne. Listen, we went to Atlantic City once, and it was a big night. We had 50 guys. And the monster suite, it was for the Super Bowl. And it was Al. He used to get serious comp at Trump Marina. And his host, we went up to the room. It was a waste. I mean, we gave it to everybody. 50 bottles of Dom Perignon throughout the whole room. Strawberries, Grand Marnier. She set the whole room up for him. I don't know what it was for. It was because we hit big the last time we were there. So when we went back, we went up to the suite. We didn't even ask for it. We gave it all away. We didn't drink one bottle of champagne. We don't. Johnny Blue, Johnny Black. They drank straight scotch. I wasn't a drinker, but I would drink Johnny Blue occasionally. So yeah, it was like. So just imagine we go down in sweatsuits. They take 6 of the Brioni suits that were hanging up in the closet, and we get there. We get settled. You go out and you get your toiletries. We don't bring, we buy all. That's why I don't understand when people go on vacation. They pack toiletries, socks, you don't pack any of that. You bring your suits and your shoes, and you buy your socks, underwears, t-shirts. Because we throw your socks and t-shirts out, and your toothpaste, the shit, all of that. So we get all of that together, go up to the room, and figure out what we're gonna do. We're gonna gamble first. We're gonna shower. What are we gonna do? When we get up there, we open up the doors to the suite, and then there was like junior suites connected to it. But in his main suite, there was 50 bottles of Dom Perignon throughout the whole suite. And I had guys with me from our softball team, because we had softball team, football teams. It was like 50, and there was like 15 of us going in. Like the 5 guys in our crew and like 10 other guys. And they never seen anything like this. And they were like, this is all the time. Like, we get treated pretty good. I've never seen Dom Perignon because we don't drink champagne.
Yeah.
And it was stacked and packed. And then you go downstairs. Now you get showered, you get dressed, and if you're going to go to the club, casual, wherever we're going to go, the casino host got us a booth, tables, and then we get in at a bouncer gets 500. Every bouncer gets 500.
Really?
Yeah, listen, we had Lennox Lewis one night kicked out of his booth.
Where at?
No, at Casbah.
Okay.
It was a Holyfield night. We were sitting front row. That night in Holyfield, I forgot that fight. He put the guy, he looked like he had a softball in his head. We were sitting in the front. We actually his daughter was sitting behind us. And John Leverezano was there, and he was like, "Hey guys," and my guys were monsters, and we got that whole row. He's like, "Hey guys, this is Holyfield's daughter. You think she could?" We said, "Oh," we took the next row, all of us. She just needed the one seat, and we let her go in front. And it was a great trip, and we wound up going to the Casbah, and we took the corner booth. It's the biggest one. Donald Trump was in the middle booth. That was his booth. Lennox Lewis came to the next booth next to us. It was small. Every bouncer got 500 in his pocket. This is what we did every time. They walked us to the bathroom. If we got into a fight, they fought with us against anybody we fought. It was insane. This is what I'm saying. Like, these are the things people don't understand. This was like all the time. This wasn't, once a year, guys got to go down to AC. I would drive to AC on a Wednesday morning if I had nothing to do. Like, business was done for the week. It wasn't a Monday. Monday was a busy day for us. I'd go on a Wednesday morning, just drive down by myself, hop in the car, grab somebody. I've grabbed people hanging out in the corner. Come on, let's go to AC. Spend 3 days there. Like, that's just the way it was. So the bouncers, we were like, so Lennox Lewis comes in with his whole party. They don't order. They walk in, and then they walk out. I didn't hear what happened, but I'm the only one that's not drinking. So we had the head bouncer was with us, and I'm like, what's the problem? He goes, fuck him, chips anyway. He's like, because he wanted the bigger booth. So we kicked him out. It was great. And at the end of the night, Melania and Trump come down, and Trump comes over to the table, and he says, have a good night, gentlemen, and walks out.
No shit.
Yeah. Wow. That was a big night. And we did well, too.
How are the women? Are
everywhere. They think we're movie stars or, rappers. They don't know what it is.
So you guys got them all around you and stuff?
Everywhere. I mean, the one time we went to Vegas was for the porn convention. Whatever, they had the porn awards, the A, whatever that. Yeah. That was insane.
Did you actually go to the awards?
Yeah. No, we left. We didn't even go. We had tickets for that. Listen, we went to the Super Bowl Tampa 2000. We had tickets and we didn't go.
No shit.
Wow. We wound up buying out. It was John's Steakhouse at the time. He had a steakhouse in Tampa, and it was empty. So we went there. Like Moet's, I think it was called. we went there. It was because we wound up having like 50 guys. Howard Beach, Woodhaven, Ozone, because it was Giants. It was Giants Ravens. Everybody came down. It was insane. So we had like 50 guys. We only had like 5 tickets. You know, and we lost it too. We didn't even sell them. It was like $2,000 a piece for these tickets. It wasn't like great seats, but they were good. And then we just went to Mo and we just bought the whole place out. Filet mignons. It was just us. It was just 50 guys from Queens, and we just turned it up. Girls from St. Pete, girls from Clearwater. It had to be about 100 people in this place we had.
Are they all just like beautiful? Like all the women.
If there's a monsters we find the dweeb in the pool, you got to tell her she's got to go. You know,
like you do realize like most guys will go through their life and never be surrounded by that many beautiful women or do the shit that you did. You know that, right? Like,
just think of the hanger-ons at the porn convention. The hanger-ons. Forget about who's getting the awards.
Yeah,
they're even hotter than the porn stars. You know, the girls that make their own porn, they're models, they do calendars. They're everywhere. You just got to go and find them.
Take us there.
That's insane.
That's got to be.
We gotta hear
that's
that.
insane.
I mean, you're talking about bottle service, which is insane. Now you're talking about the porn convention.
Yeah, that was insane.
You didn't actually go to it though, right?
No, we didn't go.
So
we never left the suite for like 2 days. It was insane. Girls, it was like a revolving doors. It was just beautiful women. The cheapest girl was $3,000 a night. That's what they were charging. These were girls, not even the hookers from Vegas. These were just girls going down and making money.
Okay.
Because we would always find them. Like when we went to the Super Bowl, we met this guy. He brought like 20 girls out from Maryland just to pimp them out for the Super Bowl in Tampa. I'm telling you, it just attracts you. You just meet people like this. And the porn convention was that was probably the most insane I've seen. That's like, listen, I've been in the Hustler Club. Girls want $5,000 a night, $3,000 a night. I've never paid, and my friends that I know have never paid, but we've had them. You know what I mean? And like I said, they were hotter than the porn stars. And these were like amateurs. They've done calendars. They just come up to Vegas. They're from Ohio. They're from Michigan. They're from everywhere. And then people walk around with like a menu that whole weekend. If you want to sleep with a porn star, you know, like the lower budget ones, $3,500, $4,000 for 5 hours, 6 hours, or you want to pay to escort you for the night, just hang out for drinks. They have all of that. We wind up just hooking up with everybody, not paying for nothing. Girls they were just hearing about the parties in our suites, and they just wanted to be there.
So they just
unlimited alcohol, unlimited nose candy. The Gorgonzola was everywhere. You know what I mean? That was the code word over the phone. So the code word was, make sure you get the prosciutto and the Gorgonzola. They never knew what we were talking about. The Gorgonzola meant personal. That was personal use for the chichi.
So how did you get the word out then?
We didn't. Word just gets out. That's my point. Like, we're all ready to get dressed, go out, and somebody will come back to the room with 5 girls that they just met. We told them we had a suite. We invited them up. They got friends here. From next thing you know, next half hour, there's 20 girls in the suite. Then they call 10 more people. And before you know it, you're in there for a day and a half. You didn't even go back. You didn't even take a shower to go out yet. That's just, and those are the best times. Those are the best times.
Where were you at for that, for the porn convention?
We were at Rio. It was at Rio. Yeah, the big, the red building, Rio. Right,
yeah. And so
they had a big club there, I think.
Yeah.
Jungle Room, Jungle something.
Okay.
It was that time, more than 20 years ago.
So all the porn girls were around you guys at the hotel?
Whatever they were, calendar girls, porn girls.
Yeah.
They was everywhere. They had menus. They were giving out menus. That shit was insane.
That is.
Yeah, they were just, because I guess that's a big weekend for them.
Yeah.
You know, besides what they don't get paid a lot of money for those movies. So those big things, the conventions that they go from city to city, you know, that's probably, you know, they send out their, you know, whatever, they schlep.
Right.
See, you know, run into some bankers, some rich guys, some finance guys. They got to be somewhere at the bar. You know what I mean? Go get a Thai convention next door, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And and then you're in Vegas, especially back then. You know, I remember the only clubs that were allowed to stay open were inside casinos. Vegas used to shut down at like 2:30, 3 o'clock. But if the club was inside the casino, it never had to shut down.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was insane. It was insane times.
Are they asking who you guys, like, you guys are obviously...
Right away, gangsters. Once they meet us, at first they can't see us. Then they get around us, and they're like, damn, those are gangsters from New York. Straight up. And, you know, we don't talk about it. We don't say, but it's like, you know, are you guys in it? Are you guys, you know, they'll say the word, you know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
They're like, you look 10. You know, like I was, I was 140 pounds. I was, you know, clean cut. I looked like, you know, I probably looked about like I was 15, 16.
Yeah.
You know?
So do you acknowledge it, or do you tell them you're something else?
Not
Or,
me.
like,
I don't tell them anything.
yeah,
Like, this is what are you gonna ask for? During the night?
Yeah, here you go.
Then I'll break balls and I'll point to one of my friends and go, "He's a boss." We'll break balls. There's 50 girls. Who the fuck knows what
yeah,
you're saying?
right. Do you find that girls are attracted to it? Like they like the bad guy, the gangster.
It's like the girl. You pull up in a $50,000 car. She's like, eh. You pull up in a $5,000 motorcycle. She wants to suck your knee. It's the stupidest shit I ever heard. How much girls love motorcycles.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You could pull up in a $150,000 BMW. They have no clue what that is. It's a BMW. You pull up in a $90,000 Mercedes Benz. They'll suck your toes through your fucking socks. It's the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta love it, dude.
Yeah, and I used to think, I mean, if you do the majority of the world, they're attracted to the money because of third world countries. But if you do like New York, Chicago, LA, they're more attracted to the power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Leonardo DiCaprio was not a good-looking guy. Not a good-looking guy. But he's 21 and 22-year-olds because of his power, not because of his money. He's not giving them nothing. He dresses like he's a homeless guy. He looks like he belongs in San Francisco. How do you think I owns a pair of socks? But you think they're him because he's good-looking, or they're because of his money? That guy don't spend a quarter.
The fame.
They're because he was in the Titanic.
Yeah.
But I don't get it because I'm like, what do you think? You're going to be in part 2? Like, it just... So it's a lot of stupidity like that. And then if we're like... We used to always tell, like, we'd make one of the guys that were with us, he's the boss. So we would tell him, and there'd be 100 girls by him by the end of the night, just because they think he's a boss of something.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No money, no, just the power.
No.
Yeah. And he'd be like, I'm the driver. We used to do like that all the time.
Walking around New York, was it the same ambiance as Vegas as far as like the women coming around you guys and you guys partying and stuff like that? Like, did you have the same aura where you'd go places and people just come
clubs
to you?
clubs and strip clubs.
Yeah.
Because my crew was in charge of the majority of the strip clubs in New York.
Okay. Meaning
So-
what? When you say that they were
Starting all the strip clubs.
Okay.
So putting money up to, open strip clubs. So anytime they went into a strip club, they took all the attention away from everybody else. Anytime we went to a club, you got to remember back then, like I still remember the bottle services that we would pay for like $4,000. That was a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Now I heard and then I heard like 10 years later, like Liv's like $100,000 to get a table service at Liv in Miami. And I'm like, we went to Miami. We spent $3,000 on bottle service. But that was 25 years ago,
Right.
But I always remember the bills, $4,000, $800 tip, $1,000 tip, plus all the bounces got taken care of. That was like the main thing. Never had to wait online for the bathrooms. Like everything was always taken care of. But I remember it was like $700 a bottle. Johnny Blue was like $1,200, and that was the biggest. Like a bottle of Grey Goose was $700. Johnny Black was $700. How much you get to drink between 4 or 5 guys, a few girls. And, they give you all the,
Copy of something.
all the cranberry juice and all that for free.
Yeah.
Back then, it was like Red Bull, Kettle One, and Red Bull was like a big thing. And I just like the biggest, like we couldn't drink 20,000 in alcohol. You know what I mean? It's $700 a bottle.
Right.
And back then nobody was doing. But I remember we were it first opened the club in what's that? The Agata 1 or something like that. And I remember we got table service, and I didn't know how it was, so I just ordered like 8 bottles. And for some reason, it looked like every girl in the club was at our table. And these kids came over from Brooklyn. And Brooklyn and Ozone Park really don't get along like that. But I get along with everybody. So they came over and they're like, listen, we're just going to give it up. We got 2 bottles. Do you mind if we put the 2 bottles on your table and just hang with yous? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. And it turned into like a 2-day party with us, these guys from Brooklyn. And it looked like every girl in the casino. That's how it looked. And it was just another insane trip.
Now, do you ever, at one point, obviously, it's like a day and a half, 2 days. You finally look at the clock and you're like, holy it's Tuesday.
No.
Or you just don't give a
Oh, it's like, I got a wedding this weekend. My girl's going to kill me. It's like that. You know what I mean? This was before we had kids and anything like that, you know? And then you could do all of this, because once you have kids, you don't want to tell these stories. You just want to disrespect whoever you're with. You just don't want your kids looking at you like that. I've never been cock blocked in my life. I was always that guy. I don't give a f- anybody thinks. I was that guy. And it's not narcissism, straight up conceited and convinced. I was that guy. I went out and I had the hottest girls, didn't have to pay for it. And it was when The Sopranos first hit, and it was huge. And Furio came out, and he's hanging out with us. he was getting into doing art. They were going to try to back him, invest with him. And we were all out. We all went to dinner. And a bunch of girls went by. And I grabbed one of them talking. And then her friend said, oh, that's Furio. We said, yeah, we let her sit next to him. They're talking. And the girl's like, I'll meet you downstairs. We'll go. And I'm like, let's go. Boom. I'm going down the escalator. 20 minutes later, I'm fuming now. Nobody comes down. I see all my guys coming down without Furio. I'm like, yo, what happened to that girl? That was, he goes, that girl. They're like, Furio said to the one girl she had to bring her friend. I said, this sucker just cock blocked me? I said, he needed both of them? I got cock blocked by that ugly ponytail. I couldn't believe it. And that just goes to show you the guy was in a show. Right. You know what I mean? Oh, I was cursing him. I've been cursing him for the last 25 years. And you think he's ugly on TV. He's even more ugly in person. Flowered shirts, flamey hair. And he got me. He cock blocked me. That shit's never happened to me. Oh, yeah. Especially back then. That was my heyday. Yeah, I was running through them.
That one burns deep then, doesn't it?
Yeah, because he was ugly.
Where did your confidence or originate? Were you just naturally that guy? Just go up to people? Because a lot of guys are afraid to approach women in general. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I'm that guy.
Like you'll just.
When we had a beef, I'd ring your doorbell.
Yeah.
Back then, like let's get it over with. I was always like that.
So you just go up to anybody?
Yeah.
Like no.
Yeah, if guys didn't want to start the fight, I knew the guy. I don't care if they're going to beat me. I don't want to go over and punch him. I've always had that. You know, when I started hanging out with this crew, like I've heard about the Napoleon Complex and all that, but I never got into it. Like what it really meant. I didn't care. My mother was like 4'11". My father was like 4'10". I'm 5'8". Like I thought I was tall. And these are Sicilians. Like they were tiny. My sister's tiny. And I always thought, but now I get around these guys, nobody's under 6 foot. 6'2", 6'4", 6'1". They're all monsters. And I know we were hanging out and they were like, you really don't have a Napoleon complex, do you? And I'm like, well, really break it down for me. I don't know what that means. They're like, you're short. I was like, what? They're like, yo, you're short and it don't bother you. And I'm like, because I never believed I was short.
Yeah.
You know? And it was always confidence because, for a long time, I didn't even have to talk to girls would talk to me. Like when I was a kid, like that, it was big. And that's just what I had. It's a gift and a curse. I would have liked to be born lucky, not good looking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then confidence makes any ugly guy good looking. But I didn't know all of this. It's just the way I was. And they used to break my balls all the time. They were like, you know how short, like we'd be out in the club hanging out and I'd be like, yeah, walking in like this. And they'd be like, you know how short you are, right? Like that's like, this is what we did. Or they'd be waiting for me to come and they'll be sitting in front of the club and we always parked far away and I'd be coming down the block and I'd be walking like this and like, you're 150 pounds, right? And I'm like, no, I don't. I walked into jail like that. I walked in life like that. It's just who I was.
Did you have a lot of haters, like guys trying to with you? And
no.
how did you? No, really?
No, because they knew I'd be in their face. I didn't play that.
Even with
so
the
we all
women?
got along.
Like,
I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Like that was another thing. If I knew guys like certain girls, I stood away from them.
Okay.
Because that was always a big beef for me growing up. I had a lot of problems when I was a kid. From middle school, because but it wasn't with people I knew. It was like from other neighborhoods. Because I hung out from East New York to South Jamaica. This was even, this was before Howell Beach days. And I've always had a different beef with somebody over a girl, and I didn't even know them. So I just always knew there was just too many girls in the world to have beef over. I had a friend, God rest his soul, Doug, he died over a girl. Broke up a fight between his girl and another girl. Guy stabbed him under his heart, cut his artery, bled out. Like, I know a lot of guys that died over girls. I mean, if I have to, if I'm married, you got to do what you got to do. But if I knew a guy like the girl, there's 9 million girls just in New York City.
Yeah.
Like, you out of your free of mind? I don't give a.
Yeah.
Be good. Take care, But their beefs are always over other things.
Right.
They'll say something to a girl about me. And that would hurt me. But it was always it wasn't like they were afraid I was going to beat them up. They were afraid that every time they see me, I was going to fight them. Because I get along with everybody. But as soon as you got beef with me or your friends, I'm in your face every time I see you. So you're going to just have to beat me up every time you see me. And guys don't want that. Even if they know they get. Most people do not like that conflict. Me growing up, I thought I had to be in that conflict all the time because that's how my mother raised me.
Yeah.
Like I went into jail at 140 pounds, 5'8", thinking I got to fight everybody. where guys go in themselves. You know, I just kept that mentality because that's what my mother did to me as a kid. I had to fight all the time.
So how did you learn how to fight? Did you have a natural ability? Because a lot of guys don't know how to fight.
Yeah,
they don't know how to throw a punch.
Oh, I trained when I was a kid.
Okay.
I boxed in my teen years. You know, just training. Because I actually did it because it was a great workout. Plus, I was an athlete.
Yeah.
You know, I was a shortstop. I played wide receiver.
And when you were growing up, when you were a little kid, your mom kind of put you
in the streets to fight.
Like, you don't be a pussy.
Yeah.
Like, you go out there and handle yourself.
Yeah, I can show you how many wise guys now. They used to ring my bell back in the days in City Line. Oh, I got a problem over here. I got these guys. They want to, let's go.
Really?
Because my mother was, like, the older guys would ring my bell and get my mother hyped. Like, a kid didn't even say anything. And they'd ring my bell. And my mother was like, Joni, Puerto Rican kid around the corner says that he could beat any white kid up in this neighborhood. My mother dragged me out of the room. You didn't want to fight? I'm like, what are you talking about? And they would get my mother was riled up like that. She was a green-eyed Sicilian. She was crazy like that.
Yeah.
And I was fighting in the streets from 5 years old until she passed away. Every day. Like, just in the streets fighting. And people say, yeah, all right. People that grew up in my neighborhood, no. My mother had me in them streets fighting every day.
So you were molded into being a warrior.
Just got to fight. Win or lose. But it was win or lose. Because if you didn't fight, you're going to go home and get another beating.
Yeah.
So it's like, let me take one from a guy that's my size.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Did that carry with you, you know, the more that you came up as far as people being like, there's guys that flap their gums.
Yeah.
You know? There's a lot of people that flap their gums.
And then hide behind 10 guys.
100%. And then the name kind of goes around. It's like, hey, you know, Anthony over there, he's going to throw hands. So if you want to go, you better be ready. Was it like that then?
Guys used to pull me out of the handball courts. I grew up with a real tough Irish guy. The toughest guys I know growing up were these 4 Irish kids that I grew up with. They were a lot older than me. And they were tough. And if I was going to go to them for a beef, they were going to throw me in the middle first. Well, you go out there first and do what you got to do. And we'll be right behind you. And I always knew they'd be behind me. So I had to back up if I went to them and said, I got to take care of this. Or for younger, you know, they had a lot of gangs and Spanish and black gangs coming into the neighborhood when I was hanging out at 88 Park. And the older guys would come grab me. Like, you got to fight this kid. I didn't know who the kid was, how he fought. I had to get in there and fight him. Because if I didn't, those guys would turn their backs on me and never. And then just horsing around, they would give me a beating. These guys were built like, and that's made me tough too. Those guys would just knock the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But anywhere they went to eat, anywhere they went to drink, any club they went to, I was 14 years old, they would get me into clubs. They took me with them.
Oh, no shit.
Never left me home. I didn't have a curfew or nothing, so, but like they knew. No, I was a small kid, but they knew. They were like, Hootie's all right. And they grew up like that. They want to be in one of like my closest friends growing up.
Okay. So when you went into jail with this kind of reputation on the street, were you nervous or scared? What? Because you're
Never.
Not one time.
No, never. And I went to the roughest building on Rikers Island, my first pinch at 25 years old, the Beacon. One of the worst buildings you can go to. My case was on the TV. They knew right. I was the only white kid, Italian, on that side of the building. I had a 20. So when you get pinched in there, your scores go up to 30. I had kingpin status because I got pinched on a big pharmaceutical case. And my score was 27. So I was in the worst building, the worst part. I ended up on the odd side, 11 it was. And then 13. That 11 I think was a Crip house. I got along with the Bloods, the Land Kings. I got along with all of them. I already did a small bid in the 6th building. That's like for sentenced inmates that you do county time under a year. So I just went in, and I was in the bullpens for like 4 days. And they sent me to the cells. You sleep in single-man cells in the Beacon. And I remember coming out, and I'm like, listen, I don't care who got slot time, who got phone time. I've just been in the bullpens for 4 days. I just want to call my family, tell them what building I'm in, and I'm going to sleep for 2 days. And Blood Kid let me on the phone, called home, called my wife, said, listen, I made it to the Beacon. I was in the bullpens. I'm going to go to sleep for 2 days, see if you can get up on a visit. And that was it. They know how you carry yourself if you're a guy to f with or not a guy to f with. Because it's like, all right, if he's Italian and he's in that, like, yeah, we can f with him, we can install him, but do we want the trouble down the line? You know, maybe he's got COs in here. Maybe he's got, you know, which we didn't have nobody. But they're like, all right, maybe he's one of those guys that's going to, you know, shiv us with a toothbrush. We don't know. Why f with him?
Do they know that you're associated with, you know?
Well, though, when you go in, they know right away, because if you're not, right away, if you kind of, like, if they'll think you're the cops. You know what I mean? Right away. If you don't look the part, you're a cop. They sent you in there to see who's got the drugs, who's got that, because there's 50 inmates to a tier, and you're the only white guy here. What the f up with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's first, it's a security risk. But they kind of know, you know what I mean? And it's like they watch, and everybody watches in jail. That's the one thing. Everybody's paying attention. How you carry yourself, how you go to the shower, how you walk around, what do you look for? Do you know what you're doing? Everybody pays it. So you just got to, if you don't know, you got to fake it till you make it, because you just got to act like you've been there before.
So you
act like you belong there.
So you accept that. So, obviously getting the life that you were in, you know that jail or prison is coming with it. 100%.
That's the one thing.
In your mind, you were already like, okay, it is what it is. It's part of the game.
I couldn't wait to go there. I wore it as a badge. Anybody will tell you that. They thought it was.
You were excited?
No, I knew I had to get it.
Yeah.
I had to go to jail.
Like
I'm thinking you have to go. I was a street guy. I wasn't anything. I wasn't looking to become a baseball player or the president of the United States. You can't be a street guy and not go to jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't go to street guy and not hurt people. You can't go. You have to take risks. So I wanted to go and get my badge. I knew what it was about. You heard it, what it was about. You know you're going to have to fight. But if you're respectful, you don't get involved with punks, gays, gambling, or drugs, you're not going to get shanked. You're not going to get jumped. You're going to fight. That's what people don't understand. People get real scared. I'm going to get raped. I'm going to get shanked. No. Stay away from the three bad things. Carry yourself like a gentleman, and you're not. You're going to get beat up if you lose a fight. And no, they don't look down on you for losing a fight as long as you fight. That's what people don't get. But again, I came from nothing. All these guys are born on third base, silver spoons in their mouth. I didn't have that.
What's third base? Real quick, when you say third base?
Well, they already had a head start in life because they grew up with mobs, money.
Oh, gotcha.
They grew up with, that's what we used to say. You're born on third, you're blessed.
Okay.
I had to start from the beginning. You're already born, your father's a wise guy. Grew up with both your parents in your house. Still live at home. You never had to pay a bill. I was on my own. I'm 14. You know what I mean? So those guys are born on third. They don't know. They don't know what being uncomfortable is. Not having. Like, we didn't have snacks. I knew. I knew what we didn't have. I had 2 pairs of pants, 1 pair of sneakers to last me the whole year plus the summer. They never had that kind. They don't know what it is to struggle. So when you go into jail, it's just more of a struggle. You know what I mean? You just got to carry yourself. And I wore that when I first got there, it was a bad building. I was with tough guys. I was with killers, murderers. I was a 27. 30 is as high as you can go. I was at the worst of the worst. And I wore it as a badge. And I thought that's what I had to do. And the one thing with my crew, and it's like a big thing that I write about and talk about, like, we were warned. You want this life? Because it does. You choose it. Like all these people they didn't help me, they didn't pay my lawyers. You make your own money, pay your own lawyers. Your wife get good friends. Expect your wife's going to get hit on by everybody as soon as you go to jail. You're going to go to jail. Nobody's going to visit you. Nobody's going to send money. If you get with the right crew, they let you know all of this. So when you get pinched and you want to tell, you say, no, they told you. Go get your earn, set your own little crew up, set your whole thing up because you're going to go to jail or you're going to be killed. And if you're not ready for that, then go get a job or go find another crew to be with. That was the one thing that I respected about my crew. The captain in my crew anyway. You're going to go to jail. You're going to, everybody's going to try to f your wife. Nobody's going to help you. Nobody's going to visit you. Nobody's going to help you with lawyers. So if that's what you're expecting to use as a cop-out when you get in trouble, then get the f out of here. And that's what I help people. Oh, they didn't want to help me. They didn't want to. You've been in trouble 97 times. Who the f is going to keep helping you?
Yeah.
It's still life. You get in trouble that many times, hang it up and go do your time.
But don't you?
But I'm speaking for me.
Yeah, but don't you think there's an aspect of like loyalty because it's like, yo, this is our boy. He's in our crew. Like, let's look out.
There's
for
no
him.
honor amongst thieves.
Yeah.
You build that. You build that. If you build that, I did. I had a solid crew. When I went away, they would drop an envelope off. Didn't ask them to. You have to build that. Don't expect it from the guys in life because they're facing the same things that you're facing. When you went out and you did a 100-pound pot deal, did you give them that many? Do they owe you then?
Yeah.
You're on the street doing things for that life to be a part of it. They don't owe you nothing for doing that. That's why I like when people say hitman. There's no hitman in the mafia. When you be almost a hitman, there's no such thing as a hitman in the mafia. You're in the life, you get a piece of work, you go do it out of respect. End of story. No hitman. This ain't the days of Murder Incorporated down in Brownsville.
Yeah.
And the guys are putting money out to kill some guy because he beat his daughter up or something like that. No, you put the piece of work into being in the life. You're in the streets to prove to the life. You kick it up because that's what you want to be a part of that. They don't owe you nothing. Yeah. You owe them loyalty. They don't owe you. They didn't choose you. You chose them.
Okay.
And nobody gets that in this life. Everybody wants to complain about, you've been in trouble 97 times. How many lawyers you need help with?
Yeah.
You know? And I'm not knocking what anybody did. I'm just tired of people saying I couldn't get any help.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't. The guys before you couldn't get any help. You don't say that you got blindsided. Don't say I thought I was different. Nobody's different. If you're not the boss of the underboss, everybody's the same.
Fair enough. When you were locked up, you weren't worried about getting jumped by any of the gangs because you're still by yourself.
To get jumped by the gang, you got to be from another gang.
But just being
in the life has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
The life is separate from all. They used to treat it. They give us a lot of respect for that, you know. And I'm not getting involved with drugs. I'm not getting involved with gambling. I'm not getting involved with things.
So if you just stay
away from the three, you should do a good bit. You're gonna get into beef about the phone. You're gonna get into beef about the TV, and you got to fight.
Yeah.
You know, you get jumped, you got to do something about it. You might get, you know, if you could beat the guy up, you might come with 2 other guys, but they're not going to shank you. They're not going to, it doesn't go like that. That's not how it works.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But if you're Irish, you know, and you're, you know, from upstate, I've seen them all get victimized. The white guys from upstate white. There's actually, it's like the Aryan Brotherhood for upstate. They're called upstate white boys. And, they were in the state years ago. And they run secretly. But then there's like the hanger-on guys, the meth heads. They got good parents that are sending them package, they get victimized. And you can't say nothing because you're not, you know, you and your 2 guys that you're up there with Italian guys aren't getting victimized.
What do you mean by victimized?
Snatching your shit, treat you like a victim.
Okay.
Take your shit, abuse you. It's a victim.
Yeah.
You're either victim or you're a victim.
But you know, you can't. They can't stand up to them and be like you, like, and fight.
That's up to them. Some of them do, some of them don't.
But if they do, do they have to worry about
getting shanked, getting stabbed? Yeah.
Did you ever have to worry about that?
No.
Never.
No. I had a beef, and it was on Rikers Island. I was on 2015. I did 4 months, and it was a house. But I was waiting. So you check your money on your account. You got to go on the phone. And it was a guy's slot time. And I was waiting for money to come across because I was calling Long Island. You get like clicks, but you could only call locally unless you got money in your account. So I was waiting to see if the money was in my account. And I went on. The blood kid made a big deal about it. He thought I was taking his slot time. I didn't even have money in the account to make a phone call. I was just checking to see if it came over yet. So like a window, and they put down the board, and they let you go for the COs will look the other way when they know that that the board's down. And so the kid wanted to fight, but the other blood kids I got along with, some of them I didn't. So we were fighting, and I was getting the best of them, but it was like time up. And when they went to break it up, the kid that was close to him hit me with a rabbit punch. You know, when you're hitting the kiddies, and it's like the worst. You lose breath, you lose everything. And he called me good, and it broke it up. It was like 6 bloods in that house. But for the best part, they let me fight a fair one, and his little butt buddy got a nice little shot. They probably sucked each other off or something. Because the other 5 guys that were there didn't do anything.
Right.
They just broke it up because they give you a couple minutes to go, but then you got to break it up before anybody sees it, and the COs want you out of there.
That's just surprising that the Bloods didn't just pounce on you.
No, I always had a good relationship with them.
Yeah.
And it was a house. Nobody was looking to get in trouble.
Now,
I was down a violation.
When you got out, you hit the ground running right away.
Right,
you know what I'm saying? It's like boom, 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 back to it.
All the guys in my crew didn't want to come back into the streets no more. But some guys in my crew did 10 months and didn't want to come out of they're wise guys now. They want to come out of their house after doing 10 months upstate. They opened their door and they're like, I'm getting a job, they said. Nope. One guy in Howard Beach, you went to his house, he opened the door, said he was getting a job. They had to dangle his button in front of him to get him to fucking come back around.
Really?
Then they straightened him out. He was a pretty tough kid, but just because you're tough with your hands don't make you tough on the inside. 10 months, didn't want nothing to do with the streets no more. These are the guys that talk. I pull all their cards. These guys were scared. I came, I was around, I hit the ground running, and the guy in my crew told the acting captain, he's like, what the f*** is Hootie doing? He just came home, he's on supervisor list. They're like, Hootie don't give a f***. Like, this is where he comes from. Like, I'm like, what are you, I'm going to sit home? I didn't get involved in drugs again. I opened up a bookmaking operation. And I was on the street every day. And I had a good PO. She'd come at the house right around 7 o'clock. I knew it. And then she probably lived on Long Island. I would go out after that. And like, what the f*** is this guy? Running wild. But you're a street guy. What are you supposed to do? Go stock shelves? Like, I just never understood that. And I'm not talking about a guy in the life. Guy in the street. I came up in the streets. It just happened to be all my neighbors were wise guys. That's just how it was back then in those neighborhoods. And I had a chance to be with you. I wouldn't have been with any other wise guy. I wanted to be around. And I was never on record with him. I was just around him. I would never be on anybody else. That guy's a stellar. He's a gangster through and through. Never made any ifs, ands, buts about it, just like John Sr. I'm not comparing. I'm just saying he never made his quality. He was a gangster, and that was it. He wore Sergio Tacchini's in snowstorms. Like, that guy was a true G. And I wanted to be around him my whole life. I didn't give a fuck about any of these other gangs. I didn't need them. I was making a ton of money. And nobody with me in the streets. They couldn't. Open season. But nobody with me. And all my friends that I grew up with, these tough guys, these Irish, what is wrong with you? You're out of your mind. Like, you're doing great your whole life since you're a kid. Like, no one would ever expect, coming from where I was coming from, being broke, hard-working Sicilian parents that never got that break in life, never could afford anything. And now you want to go hang out with wise guys, make less money, and put a spotlight on you. Yeah, and I admit it to this day. I did.
Why, though? If you're already doing well.
Because I was Sicilian, and your whole life, that's what me being a Sicilian, even though my father didn't believe in it, my mother did. And I kind of think it was because my mother was in my ear about it. And it's just something that I wanted since I was a kid. Like, because I always felt like I was in East New York. Right? Selling drugs, crack cocaine, like everything when I was a kid. And I seen the gangs coming up in the early 90s. And it's like, if I'm not a part of the Mafia and I'm on my own, then I can be a victim like these idiots. Like, that was my mentality then. When you're part of something that's bigger than you, and at that time, I'm still living in the glory days in my mind. There's nothing bigger in the world, forget about the country, than American organized crime. Nothing big in the world. I don't care what country you're in. Nothing was bigger in the 80s and early 90s than American Cosa Nostra. Nothing. I don't care what anybody tells me. And I wanted to be that.
Fair enough.
I wanted to wake up every day, go to a social club, sip my espresso, hang out, not stand on the corner and sell drugs, work 1-2 hours a week making moves, talking to people, doing things like that. Like, I wanted that whole moving and shaking life.
And that brings me up to a great question. People always are really intrigued by the lifestyle that you live, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things people always ask me, like, hey, Matt and I are going to interview so-and-so. Take us through a regular day in the life of yourself.
Yeah, well, I was really not an orthodox up-and-coming wise guy because I had my own things going on. So one thing, like with us, we collected on Mondays. You ever been involved in bookmaking before it was legal?
I mean, I know about
so
it.
guys,
Yes,
you
correct.
collect on
Yes.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you get a guy who's stuck, and he's like, "Oh, I'm meeting the guy Sunday. I'm meeting the guy." So what we used to do is we wiped all that out and say, "All right, you come into this Shylock Money, which is extortion points, and bookmaking money, we collect on Mondays. So you don't got to tell us on Friday you got to meet the guy on Saturday. You don't tell us on Saturday you got to meet on Sunday. You can't have no excuses come Monday morning. That's it. You're supposed to see everybody you're supposed to see. So Mondays are my busiest day. I collect my Shylock. I'd collect my guys on my crew Shylock. I collect my sports betting and their sports betting. Then Monday night we had games. Texas Hold'em, Continental, Ramino, whatever, big games. And then on Tuesdays we'd have a big poker game. Cut was like $30,000 a night. Huge money. So on Wednesday, this was the best thing. You could kick. We rent beautiful apartments in Whitestone, Bayside, and it was all legitimate guys. All legitimate guys. This was the guys in my cruise game. They wouldn't let me in on it. But I would help them collect because those guys they knew if I came, they had to pay or someone was getting slapjacked. So that's what they knew, sent Hootie, right? So Tuesday, you'd come in and everybody would start off with, say, 10 grand. So 10. No, they could kick the doors open. It's just 10 guys playing cards. What do you want? There's no money. And on Wednesday, go collect. Usually there's only 1 or 2 winners, so everybody's got to pay. So you go see 10 guys, 8 guys got to pay, and you got to pay the other 2 guys. Some guys pay in check, you wash the money out to an LLC, consulting company. And it's all legitimate business guys that just wanted to play poker and not be bothered. Not have to be in the club, worry about guys coming. Because remember, they were sticking games up, they were robbing. We'd get beautiful apartments. The dealers, there was 2 dealers, they made $7 grand. They'd whack up $3,500 each for the night. The house would make $30 grand. And usually there was 1 or 2 guys sitting in the game from the crew that always won, too. They were good card players. And that is $30,000 on a Wednesday, uncut. And then Joker Polkas. And it was just like every day you had a set schedule. So, but it might be an hour here, an hour there. So we had lunch at the same place every day. Then the 7:05 games, we'd meet after that, like right around when Jeopardy started. Then we come back for the 10. Yeah, because that was our thing. Our thing was Jeopardy. It was funny.
I love it.
Listen, and I wrote this. I haven't talked about it. So when I first started hanging out with them, I was 18, 19. I would go to that. We were still taking bets. So they'd be there for the 7:05 games. I'd go for the 7:05 because we were either going to play cards, going to dinner, going to a strip club. We were doing something afterwards. And I didn't know about Long Island TV back then. Long Island TV was Channel 55 back then, and they played Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy early in the day. So I thought always the first taping was at that 7:30 mark. And I would go there, we'd play $100 a note, and he'd get me every night. And I remember one of the guys who weren't involved in bookmaking, he was a Shylock, he was my closest friend, came in one day, he's like, what are you doing? And I'll it up, and he's like, I'm playing this Stroons in Jeopardy. Where the he get so smart from? He says, smart? He watches it on Channel 55 3 hours earlier, and he comes here and wipes the floor with you. I was like, this motherfucker's been getting me for like 8 months. And, he didn't need to watch every night. He'd take it 100. He'd miss a few. So, but that's what we did, And then we had, the one guy that always wanted to borrow money. He was always upside down with horses. We'd get him in the apartment, whip him, do funny. He gets, I like 10 lashes for $100. Like, the guy was just nuts. Just wanted to bet horses. You had people like that. We just broke balls. If you think about nicknames from Brooklyn to the Bronx, we probably gave, in that era, every guy their nickname. Because all we did was break balls and hang out. And we'd do work in between it because you'd come by the club, we'd have a conversation. You didn't have to go in the movies and meet in the alleyway. When you see a drug deal, the first thing you learn, even without going into life, you never keep guns, money, and drugs. If they're going to come, they're going to rob you even if you have guns there because they get the jump on you. So if they're going to come, you let them rob they got the drop on you that day, and then you go and handle it. You never worry about the money. The drugs is always, you give the drugs and you pay within 24 hours. It's never like what they show you in the movies. And you don't got to meet in an alleyway. I can meet you in McDonald's with a duffel bag. Nobody, this is a different world the last 25 years, 30 years. The things and like I said, we never got pinched with any evidence. Everything's been, the last case back in 2011 was all grand jury testimony, not even the white. 400 hours of tapes is none of us talking on them. It's people talking about us and what we did. But it was more grand jury testimony than anything. Not a nickel bag, not a dime bag, not a paper slip with bets on it, nothing. It was all conviction on grand jury testimony. Never got pinched with anything. If I was to make a series, it would glorify the life because we lived. And we got pinched because of RICO. And what you knew was coming. Everybody knew they were going to have to take a pinch. We used to say, we're making money like dope dealers. And none of my guys were involved in drugs. But the way we spent money like drug dealers. We spent money like we were dope dealers.
So every day of your life, you're having fun.
Every day. And then you get married, you have kids, you all have kids at the same time. You all have christenings and birthdays and barbecues and vacations. It's just, you're living, it's not a bubble, but it's a world where nobody else lives. Not plumbers. We all grew up with guys that went to school, became pharmaceutical reps, plumbers, electricians. We knew those guys, but in our crew, this is what we did every day. You know what I mean? And it was great. What bothers me, and it's why I do these interviews, because it's the camaraderie. We get what I'm saying? When we're together, the nostalgic of it, us talking about it, us breaking balls. That's why I do these interviews. It's one of the reasons we were talking about that. And this is I miss that. I miss what we had. I don't really got too many bad feelings towards them. But I just know we can't. Because even if we ever hung out again, they put us in jail for 20 years for doing nothing. Because that's just the way RICO works. And I can tell you this. Alphonse said this in my crew. Another thing I'm revealing that I didn't really speak about. Before we got pinched, a year before that pinch, he says, we're all going to get pinched on a big RICO case. We're all going to go away for a ton of time, and we're never going to see each other again. We'll all be on parole. We're all going to fight, hate. Who knows what's going to happen. But in the near future, we'll be pinched on a RICO case, and none of us will be near each other ever again. I swear to God, I'll never forget the conversation. There was 6 of us in that room, and he was like, we're all going to get pinched. He goes, we're going to go down for RICO. We're going to do a ton of time. We're going to come home, have parole, up families. So everything's just, and we're just never going to be like this again. And we knew it was the beginning of the end, a year before 2010, a year before we got pinched.
And what did you say when you knew that was going to happen?
Out here, they're going to give you 1,000 years and we're going to run. Because he was making, everybody knew how much money he was making. And he was a guy that never even touched a dime bag. He never extorted a drug dealer, but he made so much money with gambling and sports and card games that he spent it like a babani. He used to say he spends like a babani dealer, like a heroin dealer. And they said they're going to come to get you like gangbusters. And they did. They wanted to nail him to a cross from the beginning of the case. I think he even had to cop out the drugs. I'm not sure what he copped out to. But he's never even touched a dime bag. It was all sports. He wouldn't. I had to stop messing around with cocaine, selling cocaine, because to get into his crew, he wouldn't have anything to do with it. Like, he didn't even want it around him. But, you know, built a $1.8 million house in a neighborhood for $400,000 houses. He's driving a Mercedes. Wife's driving a Navigator. He's got a Rolex. They went in his house, and he had 10 Rolex boxes, but they were empty. They thought they scored. He was saving them for me. I haven't been around like a year. I used to deal in jewelry and all that stuff. He told the FBI, says, well, what are you doing with empty boxes? He said, I saved them for Hootie. Because the FBI goes, you got 9, 10 Rolexes? I'm like, I'm broke. I was just home. I just came home from the state bid. I just got off that parole. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, we got 10 empty Rolexes boxes we took out of Alphonse's house. I'm like, that's good. So we're in the holding pen. He goes, I told the feds that I was saving those empty boxes for you. His wife wound up making it out the door with all the jewelry in her waist. No. I'm like, 10 boxes of empty boxes. What the fuck are you saving them for me for?